Mendoza, Brad.
Yes. So I've
So,
compared. I yeah, you have a question? You're gonna tee me up.
well, no, go ahead because I was gonna say what you were about to say. So say that, and then I'll tee you up.
I mean, I've brought it up before. I mentioned it before. I mean, every time I watch him throw the ball, I see Andrew Luck, and he's very smart. He's very cerebral. Am I calling him Andrew Luck? I don't know. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. I see 6'5". I see a tight release. I see a wicked spiral. And that just reminds me of Andrew Luck. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's because he went to Cal and Luck went to Stanford. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know, but that's just what I'm seeing. And I beat everyone to the punch as I see people putting him number 4 on their mock drafts and publishing him to the public. And here I am. I've been calling him Andrew Luck since February.
Since the pro day. I'm full blown ahead of the curve. That brings me to my question, Brad, or kind of where I wanted to go with the main football topic this week is when we sat down, what was it, 2 weeks ago to kind of talk about where Mendoza was at and rank the quarterbacks in the Big Ten. We had a serious conversation about the fact that, like, I basically said, like, if you're calling Fernando Mendoza Andrew Luck, he has to be the number 1 rated quarterback in the Big Ten, because if you put anybody else above him, you're saying there's somebody better than Andrew Luck in the Big Ten. You stared at me for about 60 seconds and you're like, you know what? I think you're right. So me and you went through and we wrote down, we ranked the quarterbacks in the Big Ten.
Right now, no, but I just see Andrew Luck year 3 maybe at Stanford, and it's kind of what
that guy was a no-brainer. Like. He could have came out his junior year and been the number 1 overall pick, and he stayed in school an extra year.
Yeah, he's the man. He's the man.
But that brings you to the fact that we ranked the quarterbacks in the Big Ten. You ranked all 18 of them. I ran out of space at 16.
Notable Drew Aller haters, yes, actually. Yeah, great tools. Great toolbox.
I was about to say,
Jay Wizzle.
I was about to say I ran out of space at 16, but I only wrote 12 names down. So Brad, if you want to start and if you want to start from the top and go down, or
you want me to work up?
I think you should work up.
I should work up.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of tiered, right? So like bottom 3, it's like no hype. I would call it just like the no hype, unproven tier. It's like Drake Lindsay, who's taking over for Brosmer at Minnesota, Malachi Singleton or / Max Brown, whoever's starting at Purdue, and then Justin Martin at Maryland. He was the backup at UCLA for Chase Garbers, who a lot of people didn't think was very good. I thought he's okay, but he was the backup.
Ryan Brown at Purdue. Max Brown was the
USC Pitt.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Brutal injury. Yikes.
Ryan Brown. And then, Justin Martin, Inglewood kid. I like him. He's a 4-star coming out, but unproven, very little hype. So I have him at 16. The next tier is what I would say. It's very senior heavy. So like the seniors have done it, have proven, but like, are they going NFL? Probably not, is how I would evaluate them. So like 15, I have Kaliak Manis, Rutgers. 14, Billy Edwards at Wisconsin. 13, Preston Stone at Northwestern, and 12, Mark Gronowski, the South Dakota State transfer, playing at Iowa next year. That's the next tier I have up. Jay Wizzle, tell me if I'm sleeping on Mark Gronowski. Please tell me. And then I need to know. I'm pretty high on Preston Stone. I think he has a pretty high ceiling. I mean, this is a guy that was dicing it up in an SMU offense given, and then he got hurt and got beaten out by Jennings last year. Once you put in a guy like Jennings and he's that electric, kind of got to just keep him on the field. So Preston got put in a little tough spot, had to transfer to Northwestern. Northwestern might have gotten a steal with that pick. I mean, that 15 to 12 tier, like those guys are solid quarterbacks, in my opinion. I think the Big Ten is a very solid core of quarterbacks, especially when you go 15 up. I'm not saying these guys are special, but they're serviceable. They're serviceable upperclassmen guys. Yeah. Jay Wizzle says Stone pooped his pants last year. So I saw a 5-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Probably talking about out of my ass, but I saw him the previous year going crazy. So, I mean, yeah, maybe he pooped his pants last year. Was that literally, Jay Wizzle? Literally?
Well, Brad, I was going to say, I feel like I'm maybe slightly higher on Gronowski than you are, just because of how good he was at, like, what was it, South Dakota? So
South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits.
yeah, but not much higher. Like I think you're right though. It's like very very hard to like, get in there and like from 15 to even 12, like 11, 10. Like it's somebody's playing well one week, you can make a strong argument. So it's like it's a very strong league, very similar to the coaches where you look at like 11, 12, 13. You're like, man, there's some pretty good coaches there. It's like, obviously, a lot of these guys would start for most other teams, not in the Big Ten or the SEC. And that's why those two conferences are head and shoulders above the other ones.
100%. Yeah, and those guys are just serviceable. I think once you start getting to 11, it's really like I'm kind of projecting upside based on their youth. So 11, I have Demon Williams, who's kind of the darling. A lot of people have them in their top 5 of quarterbacks in the Big Ten this year. Yeah, he's a great dual threat, true sophomore, really showed out as a true freshman. I mean, he could end up being Lamar Jackson for all I know. Who knows? I don't see it that way, to be honest, but I'm putting him at 11. I think there's high upside there, especially him just going into his year 2 season. I think there's that jump that he's going to see is all right. Jay Wizzle, Demon Williams, Jay Wizzle approved. There we go. Yeah, true sophomore. I have him there just because I think he's just a little more unproven than these guys. He's more Kyler than Lamar. Interesting. I didn't see him. I swear I didn't see him throw it that much when I was watching him. They ran him in packages and he was running most of the time. Would like to see more from the arm. 10 is a guy who I'm very high on, and I think he could be one of the biggest risers on this list that I have. But he's at 10 for now. The redshirt sophomore at Michigan State, Aiden Childs. Big fan of him. He's been following Jonathan Smith forever. He's going to go year 2 of his starting first full second season starting at the college level. We've talked about Michigan State as a riser going into year 2 with their new head coach. You should expect an uptick there. Childs is probably going to be one of the bigger reasons for that. And then I get to a tier where it gets really curious.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
So is Dante Moore the next name for you?
Yes, he is.
Why Dante Moore over Childs?
Why Dante Moore over Childs? Because it's interesting. That's a good question. Dante Moore comes in as, I think he's a better thrower of the ball. When it comes to what I saw when he was a freshman at UCLA was crazy, accurate, powerful arm. Absolute idiot is kind of what I saw from him. Like I saw him throw a pick 6 on the first play of the game against Utah on the road. This is a play that has been installed since Thursday, and he doesn't know and he gets tricked on the first play. Unbelievable. The crazy arm. Just I just don't see it up here. Why do I have him over Childs? To be honest, after saying all that, I don't know. I do think the arm on Moore is better, and I think there's a little bit more upside there with Dante Moore. Will it happen? Will it come to fruition? I mean, we'll see when I rank these. Probably I'll do a mid-year ranking of these guys because this will probably stay true going into, through fall and stuff like that, at least for me. So I won't see any more tape on these guys up until August, September, October.
Well, here's how I look at those two specifically, Brad. And I know Dante Moore did he put a full season on tape or no, his freshman year? But you're looking at Aiden Childs, who had a full season of football in the Big Ten, versus Dante Moore, who didn't.
Yeah, but then you're out here telling me how Julian Sands is going to be the truth, and
no, I didn't say the truth. I just said he's going to be good. Like he has again. It's like you're looking for. I'm not watching the kid every day. I don't talk to the kid. Like I don't know what his mental makeup is. But when you have like the Elite 11 stuff and the high school accolades that kid has, and then you go and Ryan Day is comfortable handing you the keys to the offense. It's like, am I going to trust my evaluation of the guy from what I read on the internet, or am I going to trust Ryan Day's evaluation? I'll probably go with the guy who just won the national championship. Like he probably has a little bit of a better idea about quarterbacks than I do.
That's kind of the same thing with Oregon here, and why I have upside level Aiden Childs.
No, upside, I'm with you. If you're talking upside, I think he's like Dante Moore's a 5-star.
I think Childs could end up being a top 5 quarterback in this league when it's all said and done by the end of this year. Do I think that's what's going to happen right now here in May? No. I have him at 10, which is, I think, a very good ranking in the Big Ten. Being a top 10 quarterback in the Big Ten is, you're probably looking at all these years that these guys are in. Very few of these guys are seniors. He's in a good spot you're in a good
10
spot to
feels,
draft.
I was going to say 10 feels low until you realize there's 18 teams in the Big Ten, and
yeah,
10's really not a bad spot.
It's really not at all. And then I have Dante Moore, who crazy arm, just kind of bad decision maker, how I see it. Julian Sand, I have at 8. Personally, I don't even like that. Like, if you had to ask me right now who I'm taking, Childs over Sand, like, I'm taking Childs. I watched Julian Sand and, like, yeah, he's crazy accurate. I just see Miller Moss. I see an undersized, like, kind of skinny white kid, just kind of good arm, accurate, good decision maker, just nothing too special there, to be honest. I could be eating crow by the end of the year. I mean, he's going to look good with throwing to Jeremiah Smith, sure.
Yeah, I was about to say his job isn't very hard.
Take Jeremiah Smith away. Like, how good is Julian Sand? How good is he? Even if he pops off this next year, like, it's going to be hard. It's just, that's hard to evaluate, period. So, but he has Jeremiah Smith, so I have him at 8. That's kind of where that logic kind of came in. Give him Jeremiah Smith, yeah, he's probably top 8 at least in the league. So, and then 7, I got Bryce Underwood, who is a true freshman, so I couldn't rank him really any higher, to be honest. Just looking at the guys above him, just couldn't convince myself to rank him above those guys. Everyone else, I'm very high on Bryce Underwood. I think he's gonna be very good. Everyone below him at this point, I was able to convince myself that Bryce Underwood, I would take him over those guys just because of his upside and his size, his speed. He's the whole package from what everyone's telling me. He can go out there as a true freshman and absolutely flop like Dante Moore did. You never know. We'll see. But yeah, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Yeah, Dante is Will Stein can't make it work. Dante is cooked. That's very fair, Jay Wizzle. I agree. Yeah, it's a good system. Like, Dante Moore is being put in a better situation than a really bad O-line at UCLA the past 2 years, including his year there. I mean, he's probably scared. You know, he's playing this really good Utah defense, throws a pick 6. Still, that play's been installed since Thursday. So I really see it's a very, very up and down type flow with Dante Moore. Lots of ups. Like, he'll throw a dot to J. Mike Sturdivant for a touchdown, but then he'll throw the dumbest pick you've ever seen in your life. And yeah, he doesn't move well in the pocket, at least when I was watching him live a couple times at UCLA. Yeah. But anyways, Bryce Underwood, I think he's, the bee's knees, the cat's meow, the whole package. I mean, this guy, he's for a freshman, it really does. For a true freshman prospect, I don't know how much better it gets. Definitely a better prospect than Raiola coming out as a true freshman. The reason why I have him right behind Raiola is because Raiola. So these are my rankings for who's going to be the best going next year, not NFL. If it was my NFL projections, I'd probably have Bryce Underwood number 1, right next to Mendoza. Like, it's at that level, but he's a true freshman. It's hard for me to put him above a 5-star that's also going into his year 2. That's just a year ahead of him, and he just is. So I have Raiola at 6. So that means I don't think Raiola is a top 5 quarterback in the league, which could be it based on these pundits. Could be a very debatable take that I have. So yeah,
you're not going to get much debate from me, Brad. Maybe I'm just putting too much into the Indiana game, and I have to throw that out. But I just, like, I don't see, like, I had Raiola at 8. I had Mayava at 7. I had Sand at 6, Underwood at 5. Underwood, I know it's so ridiculous to have somebody who's never played college football this high on this list. Comments. It is crazy. Physically, if you look at the kid, like, he looks like he just
huge.
Looks
he looks like Cam Newton.
He does look like Cam Newton, and I'm not putting Cam Newton on the guy, but holy cow, like, he physically looks like he just looks like he could step on an NFL field right now and be ready. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying that, but just, like, good God, if you could just craft the quarterback out of stone, like, it'd probably look, maybe not the gut, but it looked pretty damn close to Underwood. Dude's got an absolute cannon. That being said, horrible offense. His number 1 wide receiver might be Donovan McCulley. So we'll see.
Yeah, he lost Loveland. He loses
in terms of dual threat
Stallings. He
ability, like
loses Donovan Edwards.
in terms of size and in terms of like upside, damn man, like he's young. He's real young. He is really young. But god damn it, he's like as enticing as a player could be. So we'll see. If they make it super simple for him and then they let him run, right? If they treat him more like a run first quarterback and aren't afraid to let him get hit, I think he has a lot more success than if they try and make him a pure drop back. But yeah, I mean they weren't able to have a lot of success with
I'm basically just buying into this Bryce Underwood.
I'm buying it. That's what I'm saying. He might be worth the money. That's
buying in.
And I'll be happily wrong.
Yeah, sure. Now I'll be wrong about. I would hate to be wrong about Sayin, but I see Miller Moss. I anticipate Sayin to drop on this list, Moore to drop, Childs to rise, Demon Williams could rise just based on Jay Wizzle. You know, I trust Jay Wizzle. We go way back, and then it's true. And then yeah. Are we ready for top 5?
Yeah. Well, I Underwood was my 5, but go ahead because you have Mayava up there.
Yeah, I have Mayava at 5. I really like Mayava. I saw a lot of good things from him this past year. Saw him live. So I watched Caleb Williams play in the Rose Bowl, and then 2 years later I watched Jaden Mayava play in the Rose Bowl. Same game, same jersey, same number. Man, do they look similar out there? Just throwing motion wise, kind of running around. Now Caleb Williams up here, special. That's why he went 1 overall. That's why he was able to figure out. And he's got that touch and he's got that, 1 overall stuff. He's got it all. Mayava, obviously a little more unproven, but man, did he look a lot like Caleb Williams. And if they can just replicate anything from that year and what those offenses were doing, I mean, they're in a really good spot. I saw him hit a post on a rope, like just beating the DB's hand by a couple inches in the USC UCLA game. I mean, that was an absolute dot, an absolute pearl. He shows those flashes. I like him at 5, and I'm gonna go right into number 4 because I got Nico Iamaleava at 4 for UCLA. So I got 2 Polynesian quarterbacks playing at the Angelino schools. I absolutely love it. The crosstown rivalry is going to be absolutely electric with these 2 top 5 conference quarterbacks going head to head. And yeah, I'm big on Jaden and I'm big on Nico. They can really sling it. I expect those 2 teams, because I have them in my top 5. I expect those 2 teams in particular, UCLA, USC, 2 teams that a lot of people aren't talking about for, being dark horses in the Big Ten going into this year. Maybe USC, they get that hype, but definitely not UCLA. Watch out for those 2 teams. They have really good quarterback play going into next year. So exciting stuff.
You're higher than Mayava than I am, but obviously Lincoln Riley was comfortable enough to let Miller Moss walk out the door and to be able to lose Julian Lewis, who
like our 4th podcast ever. I told you this was going to happen.
You did. No, you've been high on him. Obviously, if we're gonna just move down the unproven guys, I'll take your word for it. Mayava ends up in the top 5. I'm with you right there with you on Nico. I think people are underplaying the fact that he was a true or a redshirt freshman starter in the SEC and navigated his team to a playoff. The fact that maybe he wanted to get what was a crazy market value for a quarterback isn't that big of a red flag for me. And the fact that he landed with Tino Sinceri is terrifying for the fact that Indiana is going to have to play them later in the year. I still think Indiana's a better team than UCLA. So it's like, I'm not, but that's you're right. You're going to have to try and these are games you're going to have to be very prepared for because those guys are going to be prepared.
Quarterback play against UCLA and USC this year.
100%.
It's going to be elite. And Nico, you got to project, you got to see the production and see where they're at youth wise, and then anticipate the younger they are, the bigger the step up they should be taking in theory. It's what do you call it? Exponential, right?
Growth is exponential, Brad.
Yes, of course. And yeah, that's how I see Nico. That's how I see Mayava. Obviously, Underwood, Sayin, and Moore are a little more unproven than those guys. I'd say those Nico and Jaden have a lot more experience under the belt. Jaden was the freshman of the year in the Mountain West at UNLV. He's played a ton of football at the college level already. And then he came in halfway through the year and really turned USC's season around. They were on a little run. They were looking good there. They were hanging around with Notre Dame. They took care of business against UCLA. They ended very strong for their season, coming off a Maryland loss. Since after that loss, they finished really strong. As much trash that I talked about them on yeah. And like, yeah, Jay Wizzle, I think I talked one thing I really like about Nico's situation at UCLA is I mentioned obviously that we know about Tino, but him just being around Deshaun Foster and all these ex-NFL guys on UCLA's staff, I think it's just a really good like perspective switch for him to see that, where he can really just, not worry about the money. And like the goal here now is to get you to the league, and UCLA has plenty of facilities and exposure and resources to get you there, considering the amount of, a lot of NFL players go to UCLA's campus to train, like Odell way back in the day, some big names, and that still happens to this day. So he can, in theory, like if a receiver comes into town and they're in LA, they're gonna be like, "Hey, Nico, can you throw?" And he's gonna get that experience very early. And that type of stuff is, you can't put a price tag on that. Throwing routes to Stephon Diggs and Mike Evans and guys like that.
Have you been seeing these things happen, or are you just assuming these things are happening?
These things do happen at UCLA. They do. I'm just telling you. They go to LA and they train, and Nico and Jaden are put in a very unique situation. I think it's big for Nico. And I'm kind of done on Nico, but yeah, a kid from Downey, California, starting. Jay Wizzle knows he's an LA guy. Being in that environment at UCLA where they are an NFL factory is just going to be huge for him. I'm not saying Tennessee isn't that, but Mike Evans isn't going to Knoxville to train.
Yeah, no, it's LA is different. I will give you that. Get into your top three. What do we got?
So it's the clear top three: Mendoza, Aller, Altmaier. The two most,
the order,
the three most proven guys in this league, production wise, however you want to slice it. Just they've done it. They've been there. Two of them have done it at the Big Ten level. One has not. I have the one who has not top of my list just because, he plays for my team, and I'm projecting that he's going to be put in a better situation behind a better O-line and a very quarterback-friendly offense. And I think he looks like Andrew Luck when he throws. I got Mendoza 1. I got Aller 2. A guy who has all the tools, but at times, I think he played great last year, but at times can be a little unreliable. And then there's Altmaier, just an absolute gamer. Nothing, his toolbox isn't out of this world, but he's an absolute gamer, cerebral player, can make plays. Winning football is what he does, and is how he plays. So I have Altmaier at 3, Aller 2, Mendoza 1.
Yeah, it's funny. I had this whole I was ready to argue Altmaier over Aller just because they're for as many of the good tools Aller has, it's just no completions to receivers in the college football playoff game against Notre Dame is you're gonna play a team with good cornerbacks. You couldn't, I don't know. So for that guy to have the talent level of Penn State, I believe there was a comment up here before that somebody said that they thought Penn State had the best roster in the Big Ten. Yeah, Fatboy 44. Penn State is the best roster in the Big Ten. To have that team, that level of talent, top 4, top 5 in the country, and still not be able to figure it out in those moments where it comes down to you is those are red flags to me. But for whatever reason, I had this idea of Altmaier in my head where he was the Illinois quarterback that threw for 500 yards against Indiana. But it was Altmaier's backup that did that, which makes that game 10 times worse and knocks Altmaier down a peg for me. So you have to put, I mean, I feel like you got to put Aller too, just based on, what he's put on the field. But they're people were talking about Drew Aller as potentially being a top 5 pick in this upcoming draft if he was able to put out a good college football playoff performance, and it sent him so far down draft boards he came back to school. So
yeah, I mean a lot of people fell down in the draft this past year. QB2 went 25. So
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't know where Aller would have fallen in that draft. Obviously, you see guys like Sanders fall, who is that toolbox guy that has this great accuracy, great this ball. Obviously, probably messed up the interviews, but clearly teams are willing to just take a better player that's a sure thing, a guy that's going to make their roster and be a starter over a quarterback where it's very, very been hit or miss. And I think with the Sam Darnold effect, I think it's going to affect how teams operate to the fact where, hey, let's get the older quarterback who maybe was, messed up his first shot, like Justin Fields, for example. Like maybe year 5, Justin Fields figures it out, like Darnold figured it out year 5.
Geno Smith,
kind of the same thing. Like
didn't write back.
I'm going to throw it back to Rich Gannon. Rich Gannon didn't figure it out till like year 8, and he won MVP of the league.
That's why I won't have any. I'm not taking any Kenny Pickett slander. I'm not. It's not over yet.
That dude sucks. That dude.
It's not. No, you can't tell me. You literally can't tell me it's over yet. It's year 4.
He wears gloves to throw. Keezer.
Gritty, tough, Super Bowl winner.
Fake slide made
Heisman football finalist. No, the fact that he worked out in the Pittsburgh Steelers weight room for 5 years made that guy millions of dollars.
True. All right. Fair.
I digress.
He still stinks, though. I digress.
That's what I got for Indiana football, Brad, and football in general. You want to put a bow on your quarterback rankings? Do you have any a send off to Segs?
Put a bow on it. I like my rankings because they make sense to me.
I would hope so. You're like, oh my god, like these just I just don't know what I'm looking at here.
The only thing maybe I would change is like after talking it through, like I really don't like Sand and I really do like Childs. So
I want to move Underwood down too. I'm afraid of the unproven.
I'm gonna go Childs 8, and I'm gonna go Sand 11. I'm gonna go Demon Williams 10. He's gonna sneak in there. I'm just putting Sand out of the top 10. Ohio State. We'll see how good Sand is this year. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, I'll put a bow on this by saying this is a conversation and rankings Brad and I figured out 2 weeks ago. Not the least bit surprised at all that Fernando Mendoza is appearing at the top of these draft boards and will continue to do so. Like like Brad is not like, yeah, it sounds dumb when you,
yes.
It sounds dumb when you look at a kid and be like, yeah, that's Andrew Luck. But like, look at Fernando Mendoza and come up with a different idea.
Go and watch him throw.
Like, go and tell me you don't see where he's coming from. And I don't know. It's a different conversation, but I'm with you. The kid's special. Everything. We're like, Signetti can't help himself. Every time Sig talks about it, he's just like, yeah, he improved today. Like, and he's just like sitting there, like,
he's smiling.
You tell he wants to like say things and like heap praise on the kid, but it's like, don't say too much because like,
cannot let that kid be satisfied at all.
No,
gotta keep pushing him. He's a good coach in that sense,
100%. Not that complacency is something that like that doesn't seem like to be an issue.
That's part of it, like inherently, like you get all this good praise. You're gonna, no matter, you can't help it. It's human nature. You're gonna get slightly, I'm not saying completely complacent, but not as driven as maybe you were before. If you keep that hunger. And that's why I think Sig does a great job with his guys, making sure they have that hunger and they're never satisfied. And that's something he always says all the time, never satisfied. And that's how I want Mendoza to be, going into, weight training. I think they're in summer workouts now. It's, it's always a fun time. And then they're getting ready for fall camp in August. And they're going to be thumping. Let us bang.
And obviously things happen weekly here for Indiana football. Like commitments are happening left and right. There's like, anything that's happening in the football apparatus, Brad and I are here to talk about it every Tuesday night, 8 p.m.